Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am AttiDude back in another video, and in today's video we're gonna be learning about functions in C#. If you haven't liked, share, subscribe my channel yet, do it now. I'll provide more content like this. So without any further ado, let's get started. So functions are really easy things to do in C#. But you need to take care of a few things. First of all, you're gonna delete everything inside of this thing, main function. It's clear, okay? And now we're gonna be making a new function right here, and I'm gonna name this my number function. And to define a function, it's really simple. Public void, first of all the access member, then the return type, and then the name of the function. I'm gonna name this my number. Remember Pascal case for all of the functions. Okay, so we now have our new function, but currently nothing will happen because we haven't added functionality to this. So we're gonna add some functionality to this by just having console.writeLine. This is the simplest thing we can do to check if something is working. And I'm gonna say function is working. Yeah, it's working. Add in the semicolon, and you should now access this void, this function, from inside of the main function. You can write my number, but it will not be accessible because this is a static function. If this was not to be a static function, we can just basically take this in from here, but because it is a static function, we'll need it to reference the class. So we can write program equals to new program. Okay, we have created a new class with a brand new constructor. This is called a constructor. Don't worry if you don't understand. I will make you understand in a later video deeply on what are constructors and how to use them. And now we can just directly go ahead and access that program dot my number. Yes, you should see the function here. And why do we need to reference the class? We first need to understand that this is a static member of the class, and because this is static, it will only show the static variables. We can only play with the static variables inside of the program function, or we can define local variables like we did before and we are doing right now. From the first class we are defining the local variables, and we're now doing it. And because they are local variables, we can easily access them. But if this was not to be a static function, as I showed you before, then we can easily access this. So why is it static? Because no any other program, the compiler runs this from first. And if you look at this, if we can just write program.main, we can easily access them because it is a static function and we can only define static variables there. We cannot define non-static variables there. We cannot play with them. So it is easily accessible because it is static, because of the static keyword. What static keyword means is that there is just one function of this inside of a whole program class, and we cannot reference it, we cannot do anything. That's why we have the static function. And what another quality of that is, we can easily access this from anywhere outside of the script, but this needs to be public. In a later video, I will also explain you about the access modifiers like public, private. Those are access modifiers. We don't want this. I'm gonna remove these. Okay, and here, and if we run the program, we now expect the line of debug. Yes, it says function is working. Just add in the console.read line so that we don't get those messages. I don't want them. Okay. Yes, function is working. And there is not just one type of the function. There can be any type of function. And this returns a type void. That means if we were to use any delegates, then we can easily use this variable, not a variable but this function, and reference it to the delegate. But since we're not using delegates, it's okay if we leave it like this. But in some cases, you don't want the return type to be a void. And one thing that you also need to remember, delegates not only supports void, it supports any kind of variable, any kind of data type, string, int, float, and even the custom classes, structs, enums, much more. So even the functions support any kind of custom variable type or the inbuilt variable type. Void is an inbuilt variable type. And what this means, I don't want to do anything. What this means is that this function will not return anything. Okay? And if you have ever tried C++, then you may notice that we have void here. They have just int main, and yes, we can do that. We can just write int here, simply int, okay? But this should show an error because we need to return it something. And we're gonna do nothing here, but we're not gonna do anything, but we're just gonna return this through a keyword called return. Okay, return, and we're gonna use an int, what it will return, and it depends on you. You can use 5. Okay, it will return 5, and we can just simply write console.writeLine, and we can simply pass in this whole line of code. Okay, add in the semicolon. Okay, this should work pretty well. Hit the run button. Yes, 5. But after this example, you'd say, what is the point of creating a new function if we could do everything inside of this function? But wait. If you want code to be more easier, more readable, then you need these functions because, they are extremely useful. They make the code more understandable. That means you would be able to understand code by the name of the function. You'd even say that then we can write comments and then how it is useful. But wait, it's more understandable to do this than putting everything inside of one function. Come on. It's important to do that, try to understand, because we are separating things. Even though if you understand and you're making asset for someone else, then the client, or maybe you're publishing on the Unity asset store some assets, or creating just a random text, test function, or you're testing, then you need these because it will help you understand what the whole process is going on, what is related to, and these are even useful when we need to take input. We need to process input, and today we're going to understand through an example. We're going to find power of something using these functions. It's going to be really interesting, so I'm just going to name this power, or maybe exponent, what you call in math, and you'll see errors at the top. You're gonna copy this, paste it here so that we can understand, paste it here, and now no longer see the errors. And functions in Visual Studio are marked by this kind of yellowish color. Let me zoom in. This kind of yellowish color, and the return is like reddish, orangish, magenta type of color, pinkish kind of color. Okay, and what we're gonna do is simply delete this. Don't worry if it gives an error. And we're gonna take an int, and this int gonna be is number, int exponent, what its exponent is gonna be. And now we have learned loops. If you don't know what these are, then make sure you check out our previous videos where I showed you about loops deeply in C#. You can press I button, or you can go to the link in the description below. Okay, so we're gonna run a for loop for int I for short equals to 0 until I is less than the exponent. Okay, until then I should go plus plus. We don't need to do anything with I, but we're just gonna do something with number, and we're gonna create a new int and name this answer. What's the answer? It's first gonna be 0, not f, just 0. And when we have processed, we can write answer. First it's gonna be number, not 0. Number. Okay, answer, we need to multiply it by itself, so we can write answer multiply equal to answer. This is a type of operator. If you don't know what these operators are, make sure you check out our operators video. You can press the I button or go down to the link in the description below. You see 2 errors here, and nothing returns a value, and that only, that stuff. Don't worry, you're gonna return some value to it, and for now we're gonna return the answer. Don't want the quotes. And now here we're gonna pass in a number. For now we're gonna pass in 2 raised to the power 2, and if we play, you see 16. Why does that even happen? 2 raised to the power 2 is 2 into 2 that is 4. How does that even return 16? Okay, first of all, the answer is gonna be number, that is gonna be 2, until it is less than exponent. Until I is less than exponent, then it is gonna multiply it by itself. So if this loop runs one time, if the exponent is 1, then it is still gonna multiply by itself. So we need something to do. I can write 1. Let us check. And there we go. You get 4, which was our answer. What we did here is that if the value of exponent is 2, that we passed in here, 2, so this loop should run 2 times. And since we are defining I to be 0, then it would start from 0. When the loop runs one time, then the answer would be 4. Then I should go plus plus, which it goes, and then I would be 1. Again, it multiplies by itself, which will result us in 16, the answer. And then when I is 2, that is, it is not less than the exponent, then it would not be able to run the loop once again, which will end up returning the answer as 16. But we don't want that. Since we have started I as 1, then we can go there until I is less than exponent, which is gonna be 2. We can pass in any number, and literally any number. I'm gonna type in the cube of 23 279,841 for the confirmation. We're gonna use calculator. 23 into 23 into 23, which is gonna return us 12167. Okay, that was a wrong answer. Need to understand why. Let me run the loop once again. 279,841. Let us just keep simple numbers right here. 4 and 4, maybe 3, and we get 256. Literally, the answer is 64, and we get 256. There can be a little bit bugs that should be fixed by you. I'm giving the task to you to fix this bug. I'm not gonna do that. And if you know loops, you can do that easily. And with a bit of mathematical equations and a lot of messing up with loops and different code, you can do that pretty easily. I'm leaving that on you. If you know the answer, make sure you leave a comment down below. So we're moving forward to next example. Delete everything, and we're gonna return a 4, and we're gonna name this maybe equals. I think we'll not be able to do that because no, we're able to do that. Return, and we're gonna name this number 2, number 1, and number 2. If number 1 and number 2 are equal, you can use a Boolean expression. If you don't know what these Boolean expressions are, make sure you check out a video on that, the operators video. And now we cannot have a function with, we cannot have an equals function with empty parameters because that already exists. If you want that, you can access that by program dot equals, and you get choices. This object obj one that is a built-in, and this one has been created by us. So the built-in takes in the object parameter. Sorry for that, no parameter, but you needed that parameter. It cannot be exactly the same. The Boolean type should not exactly be the same. If there was an object type, then this function should not have the obj type. It will return an error. Let's run. False. Because 4 does not equal to 3. Yes. And once again, true. Yes. It's true. 4 equals to 4. Simple mathematical calculation. And now we're gonna learn function overloading. Now, just copy this and paste that here. And now, we're just gonna copy the whole thing and paste that here. Equals to function. And it will return an error because it has the same parameters. We can type in another parameter. I'm gonna name this number 3. If all of the 3 numbers are equal, then it is gonna return true. But you know, this is an error. Okay, I know why this is. Because it cannot compare Boolean to an int. Yes, it cannot convert. We need all of these to be true. We can use if statement. For that, if number 1 double equals to number 2, and then the number 1 double equals to number 3, and then number 2 double equals to number 3. That means all of the 3 numbers are the same. Don't worry about this long expression. Let's just check whether all of the 3 numbers are equal. Okay, we now have brackets to separate them, each of these, and if all of them are true, we're gonna return true. Else we're gonna return false. And you say, why don't you write the else statement? It's not needed, come on. Because what return will do is to quit the function. So once this value is true, it will quit and nothing down here will be executed. So it's pretty handy to use return. Nothing here will be executed. If this is true, then it will return this, and we don't need to check once again. What we could also do is to add in a Boolean expression, like I'm gonna copy the whole thing, the whole condition, and paste this here. Delete this. It will still return true. Okay? If these all 3 are equal, then it will still return true. Don't worry about that. We can either simplify this like it. If number 1 equals to number 2 and number 1 equals to number 3, that means all 3 numbers are equal. Okay, then it will return true. Okay, and here, if we again erase this and write control spacebar, I think like this, and we now get 3 options. Well, first there was just 1, now we get 3. This was the first one that we created. This was the second one that we created at last. This is pretty handy because you know there are a ton of different functions you've seen either in Unity or in simple C# or in any language that there are tons and tons of different functions with the same name but different parameters, and they even return different variable type. This returns bool. You can even make it return an int, but come on, I don't want that to return an int. You can even make it return string. Okay, and you can just, to make it string, you can write that toString. And for all of this stuff to work, every function named having the same name should have different parameters, else it won't work. .NET SDK will show an error. Equals, here it says no overload for method equals takes 0 arguments. By the way, defining functions with same name but different parameters, this process is called method overloading. You need to remember that. Terms are hard in C# and in any language, but these are important. This is called overloading. And you see there's one reference, and click on that and it will say you where the reference is. So any kind of here you can get these, and namespace we don't have any because, come on, it's not a reference type. Here we don't have any because we're not accessing this from anywhere, but here you can go ahead and pass in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 numbers, 4, 4, and 4. Okay, this should return true. Yes, it is. We can add in the not one. It says it cannot be applied to a string because the 3 variable one is a string. Yes, we know. And false. Yes, we expected that. And the toString function is provided in most of the variables to convert that variable into a string, and it will return a string. We can use that, and we also need to add in bool because it will conflict with the return type. And if we now hit play with the not sign up ahead, we should say it's false. Yes, we expected this. And that is it for today, guys. I want the answer in the comments for the exponent issue. If you know the answer, make sure to leave a comment down below. And thank you for watching. I am AttiDude signing out.